All right. Our next section here, what we're going to do is titled Civil War in Russia. And where we left off, the Tsar had abdicated his throne. The provisional government by Kerensky takes over. They're kind of a liberal democracy based on Enlightenment ideas. But in the two major cities of Moscow and St. Petersburg, we saw that the communist forces had taken over underneath Vladimir Lenin and Leon Trotsky, and that they had become really powerful. Really, a civil war breaks out between the communists and the other forces. Now, this is where we're going to get into a conversation that leads us to um, some of the whys that this took place, or that the result was what it was. So let's take a look. This area here was the area that was under Bolshevik rule. Remember, the Bolsheviks were the Soviets, the communists, the Marxist socialists who led by Trotsky and Lenin, first in St. Petersburg, but eventually taking over Moscow and really much of central Russia. Um, we're trying to start a country based on Karl Marx's ideas that this was the revolution of the workers um, against the business owners. Um, and what we're going to see here is that the opposing forces, the opposition, are going to be called the whites, okay? And the communists will be called the reds. And the whites are going to be spread out. Okay, we're going to find that, well, first, one of the first attacks is going to come from this area here, from Siberia, from a group of people who were against the communists. We'll also see that the Ukrainians and the Polish are going to also send forces and attack the communists, that the Baltic states, that Finland, that the upper part of Russia up here also is going to send forces down here from the Caucasus region, from the modern area of Georgia and Armenia. The forces are going to come. The forces are going to come from all around, from all different areas, to attack the communists in central Russia. The problem was that these forces were very much not united. Some of these people wanted to bring the Tsar back. They said, look, Nicholas is still alive. Let's bring him back. I want to go back to the old ways. These are maybe similar to conservatives in mainland Europe. Others wanted to keep the provisional government in power under Kerensky. They wanted a liberal democracy. They believed in democracy. They thought that this was the opportunity to get out from underneath autocratic rule, one person rule, which the Romanovs had been and the Tsar had been for 300 years. Other forces wanted so anyways, we're talking about the idea that these forces all had kind of different desires. And where I left off, I was saying that some people wanted the Tsar back, some people wanted a liberal democracy. Other countries were fighting for their own independence. And history suggests that if these forces had worked together, that they probably would have won. There were more of them. They had more money. They were also being funded by the Brits, the Americans, the Japanese, the French. All wanted a liberal democracy here. They didn't want communism. And if they had worked together, they probably would have won. But they did not. They did not coordinate their attacks. They attacked at different times, which allowed the communists, to defeat one group here and then turn the army around to defeat the next group down here and then the next group over here. And if they had all attacked at the same time, they probably would have overwhelmed the communist army, which wasn't that large. So again, as we kind of look here about the Civil War, we're talking about the Reds versus the Whites, and we're understanding that the Reds were made up of 3 or 4 different groups, all coming from different regions, from different areas. Um, some wanted the Tsar in power, liberal democracy. their own independence. And then, of course, there's the foreign countries who just didn't want communists, um, more white troops, but the red had the advantage because they were more unified. And, one lesson that I think has been pretty consistent through our studies this year together is that a united people are much stronger than a divided people. And in this case, we're going to see that a smaller group with less money is able to defeat a larger group with far more money because they stuck together. And I've said this before, but as Americans, in this time we're living through, it is more important than ever that we remember this, that we are always going to be more powerful, stronger, richer, better when we work together.